Guys, we made it. We have made it to the final 3 types of the Pokemon Nuzlocke type tier list series that I've been doing on the channel. And this is going to be a long one, guys. All we have left is water, normal, and flying. Today we're going to cover water. Next week I think I'll do flying, and then I'll end it off with normal. And then I'll be done with all types, and I'll have to think about what other content I want to put out Nuzlocke-wise. I'll probably do some like Scarlet Violet stuff. I still have to do a Scarlet Violet Nuzlocke. I don't know if I'm going to Nuzlocke the game, but I might monologue the game coming up soon. Like I might do like a normal monologue, but that's besides the point. You guys are here for the water Nuzlocke. This is going to be a long one, so I will try not to ramble as much as I can, and I'll try to make sure I get the points across as clearly and concisely as I can. First, let's go through the tiers. We've got F, C, B, A, S, and then the whale tier, I've just named fish. Just fish that correlate well with the tiering that I like. And then the whale tier, the final tier, is who I'm going to claim as the best water type, or the best of a couple. A lot of the past videos I've been doing a couple that fit a different criteria, like maybe it's a starter and another one. So there might be a couple in here, but these are who I say is the absolute best, and for this case, the absolute best water type you could ever get in a Nuzlocke, no matter what game you're playing. So again, this is Nuzlocke centered. This is hardcore Nuzlocke centered. Mostly, you know, we're not thinking about items. We're not thinking about switching, and we're thinking about set mode. We're thinking about level caps and all that good stuff. You can't breed and all that stuff. So egg moves out of the way. There's a lot to get through. So grab a snack. Grab a comfy seat if you're driving to work. If you are, drive safe, don't watch the video, but you can listen. If you are at work, get your work done, but still listen to me. Grab a loved one, whether that's a pet, a spouse, or if you are like me and you also don't have a pet and you also are single, grab your inner thoughts and cuddle with them. While we talk about this, let's go, guys. Let's go reverse order. Let's start with Generation 8 going into Generation 1. And at the end of the video, I will also give my thoughts on all the Scarlet Violet water types as well, which I'll pull up later. So let's go through it. Technically Generation 8, Legends Arceus. For these 3, this is if you're doing a Nuzlocke in Legends Arceus, because the only game you can currently get them in. You know, they will come to Scarlet Violet via home, but so we have to think about that battle mechanics and such. And for both Basque Legion forms, Water Ghost is great. I think they're both just B. I think they're both just B. Without abilities like adaptability or something, you know, their damage output isn't as amazing as they could be. Wave Crash is good, but it also does recoil. It gives you upper priority or faster speed in the weird speed tiering bracket that Arceus does. So I think B is fine. They're useful for the game. Not enough said, you know. They're useful. Between the forms, the male one is a better physical attacker. The female one has better special attack. So I think the male is a better water type if you need that more for your team, and the female is a better ghost type with Shadow Ball if you need that for your team instead. Hisuian Samurott, I'm putting in the S tier for Legends Arceus. I think it's the best starter in that game for Nuzlocke because of the final fights against Giratina and Involo. Ceaseless Edge doing splinter damage is amazing at wall breaking, and then it also has like Aqua Jet for speed tiering. I'm just gonna call it speed tiering when I talk about it. Speed tiering, you have Swords Dance. It has a lot of amazing tools and enough bulk and good typing to make it work. So I'm putting it as tier for that. It's a little bit weird. All right, now let's get into Sword and Shield. These two have Fishious Rend, and it's like their one niche. Outside of that, they are really not useful Pokemon up until that point. Dracovish has Water Dragon at least, which is like useful, so I could maybe put it into the B tier. But Fishious Rend really is only like a very end game thing, like the last few fights, and I just don't think that's worth constituting a higher placement. So I'm gonna leave them both in C. If someone wanted to argue me that Dracovish has to be at least B because the typing is fantastic, I won't argue that. Typing is fantastic. I could see it going into B tier, but I'm going to leave them both here. And we'll get to it later. Barraskewda, I'm putting into the A tier. This thing is ridiculously fast. It hits it ridiculously hard, has amazing coverage. Swift Swim and Propeller Tail. Ability doesn't even matter. It's just the stats and the moves. This thing kills. This thing just wins fights. It's an amazing lead. It's a glass cannon for sure, but it's so strong, it's so fast, like it's very useful. Amazing offensive water type, putting in the A tier. Cramorant's stats are not good enough to really fit the niche it has with Gold Missile and like possibly paralyzing with Pikachu when you're at low HP. It's all just super clunky and doesn't work as well as it could. The Pokemon's just not as good to make it work, so I'll put it C tier for like the funny niche. Haha, cool. Water Flying is also good typing, so I'll put it there. Let's see. Dreadnought I have in B because of Shell Armor. You just not having to worry about crits is amazing. Also, Strong Draw is like nice. And then Water Dark, it has like 115 attack. 115 in Shell Armor is great. It has some good coverage. You got like ground coverage for electric types. Obviously, don't fight a grass type. There you go. Inteleon, I think, is a pretty unimpactful water type. It's just kind of an offensive glass cannon water type, but I think like a Bear Scoot is better, and then you don't waste your starter slot. So I'm gonna put it in B. I think B is just fine. It's a dual typing or something would help it. I think it's missing something. Like a dual typing, or maybe really random coverage. It has like decent coverage. I don't know. I think just B tier. I think just flat middle B tier is fine. I could like A. I wouldn't argue with you. It's a fine choice. It's a fine choice. I have Bruxus in C. I don't think this. I think the niche of this Pokemon. The only reason I'm not going to put it in the F tier is because dazzling blocking priority moves could be a useful niche that you could like maybe pull out. There's so many water types. You're gonna have a million water types in your run, and so you have to think of like what do these do better than other ones will have. Like every game, you have a million water types to pick through, like at least 15, 20. So you have to think, what is Bruxish going to offer me that another water type is going to do better? You know, like what is Bruxish going to do that another water type is not going to do? And that's blocking priority, but that's not even that big of a deal. I don't think so. That's C. Pyukumuku is a Shuckle. It's a water type Shuckle. It's just amazing defenses, but you have Recover and Pain Split, so you have really strong wall breaking, or not wall breaking. Walling capabilities. You can last forever basically, and you get toxic by level up, which is also awesome. So you're a great just pivot. You're a great wall. You can pivot in, pain split something, if it after it's pivoted and take a damage, and then just switch out or something. It's useful. I'm just gonna quick jump to Toxapex too. Toxapex is the same thing. It can offer more meaningful damage with like Merciless Venoshock after you poison it, so I like it more. Also, Water Poison is just, more interesting typing, and the ability, it's just a little bit better than Pyukumuku, but it's essentially the same thing. It's just a crazy defensive wall with Recover, so you're going to last forever. B. I thought about putting these two in A, but A is going to be very, very flooded. Ha! Water joke. Get it? Alright, let's continue. Golisopod is going into the A tier. This thing is just a crazy offensive Pokemon. Water Bug is actually really good typing. So you just don't have to deal with grass types. You only really worry about electric and then I guess like water. Or flying, sorry. Flying, you kind of trade the grass weakness for flying, which is just totally different and pretty easy to work around. And then I guess rock, but like you're gonna be rock types because you're water. So I like Water Bug a lot, and this thing is just an absolute monster. It deals a ton of damage, leech life, first impression, all that stuff. The ability allows it. It's kind of a weird one to play with, but once you get the hang of it, like it's not an easy to use Pokemon because the ability it auto switches you out, which sometimes you might not want to switch out, but it at least switches you when you're at like low HP or like half HP or so. So you're in a danger zone, quote unquote. So then it kind of just force switches you, and you can make some plays to have some really cool pivots, and then just it's a really strong lead Pokemon against like gyms and boss battles and such. And Araquanid is also coming into the A tier. Water Bubble in its bulk is just it's a crazy defensive Pokemon, and then Water Bubble just allows its damage output to be so massive. And then you have like Leech Seed for longevity, because Leech Seed is buffed at this point. Really solid water type. So Wishy-Washy, I had to think about this one because I was like, I think this Pokemon is fantastic. I think it's super good, and I wanted to like make sure you guys wouldn't be like, noob checking me for calling this Pokemon good, but I'm putting in this. I'm putting in the S tier. This thing is an absolute monster of a Pokemon at level 20 or higher, which is not hard to achieve. Just wait to use Wishy-Washy till it's level 20. There you go. And until you get to 20, and it's at the end of your turn, if you are at 25 HP, 25% HP, you go back into the single form. Slap a berry on this Pokemon, literally any healing berry on this Pokemon, and you are just in this behemoth form forever. You hit so freaking hard, you're so bulky. Like, the HP's kind of low, but who cares? Or, like, you can run, like, leftovers and die. Like, this thing is just such a monster. It's a legendary Pokemon, realistically. I have to put it in S tier. You have to think when using it. Like, you have to, you know, you can't just be completely reckless with it. But it's just a crazy, it's a monster. And I use it all the time when I play Sun and Moon, when I played like Sun and Moon Nuzlocke. Even when I use Primarina, who's also S tier. Water Fairy typing is amazing. It gets like Energy Ball, which is hilarious, so it can actually beat other water types too. It's a great special tank Pokemon. Yeah, it's like a great special tank. Offensive water type. The fairy typing is just so good. Like, the fairy is probably the best type ever. It is the best type ever. And water's really good too, and having that combo together is just super useful. Very, very good Pokemon. And just, yeah, random Energy Ball coverage is hilarious. Clawitzer, or Clauncher, I guess, I think I have it in B tier. The thing about this, the ability doesn't really help its water stab. It makes Water Pulse about as strong as, like, Surf would be, but, like, or maybe Surf is even stronger still. So you don't have the best water stab. Like, Water Pulse is just kind of okay. But the cool coverage of, like, Aura Sphere, Dragon Pulse, Flash Cannon, Dark Pulse, all that stuff gives you really cool coverage on an offensive water type that is still pretty bulky too. So it's a nice B tier. If you need the coverage, you got it. I hate this Pokemon so much, but it's so good. This is the ugliest design Pokemon I've ever seen in my life, but it's so good. It has pretty good stats on its own, pretty high attack, good defenses, and then it has Tough Claws, so it's physical water-type moves like Razor Shell, and I'm trying to think of what rock-type moves would be physical. But just like other things, like, you know, a lot of the moves, any physical contact moves, sorry, are going to be boosted by Tough Claws, and this thing also gets Shell Smash with pretty decent defenses. Even after the Shell Smash, you might be able to take some hits. So you just go Crazy Sweeper with Shell Smash, Tough Claws, high attack stat. This thing goes crazy. It turns into a really crazy setup sweeper. Greninja, I think, is just slightly better in Teleon. It's a little bit weaker special attack, but the dark typing just gives it something more. It just gives it a little bit something more. Amazing speed. Good enough move pool. You know, you're running like Dark Pulse, Ice Beam, like Surf or something is great coverage. And then you have like Spike. You get Spikes, which is just cool, a really cool lead. So A tier it is for me. Jellicent on a Gen 5. Jellicent Water Ghost as a defensive typing, I think works very well. High HP. You've got, I think it learns like Strength Sap, and like, you got some recovery. You could just learn Recover too. You get Will-O-Wisp to patch up your not as great defense, but you're just a wall, really. You're a supportive defensive water type wall. Water Absorb and Curse Body are both great abilities. This thing could be a Trick Room user for you. It has a lot of flexibility while still being that bulky water type. Bulky water type, the bulky ghost type, which is just cool too. Yeah. A lot of good things going for it. I'm putting it in A tier. Alomomola is going to be the first Plenty of Fish in the Sea. Without Regenerator, I don't think this thing does anything important. Regenerator is hidden ability, so I just don't think it offers you much. The high HP is great and all, but the damage output's lacking, and you'd almost be better off with like a more defensive water type that offers more. Even if it's like a slightly less off defensive water type, like a Jellicent, even though Jellicent's probably bulkier than it is. That offers also just more presence, you know? That's what Alomomola is, to me. It just doesn't... All my friends die. It's just like, oh, I have high HP, cool. See you later. Swanna is a nice water flying type. You can go... It's got good typing, it's got good stats, it's got a fine move pool. You know, Air Slash, Surf, Ice Beam, great. You can use like Drill Peck or something too. It gets like Tailwind. So there's a little bit, and like Feather Dance is a really nice debuff move. Roost is great for a sweeper Pokemon. I think B tier is very fitting. Let's see, Caracosta is, I'm putting it in the A tier kind of reluctantly. I think Shell Smash and Solid Rock is a really cool combo. Sturdy also with that too, and even just without Shell Smash, it's a very bulky physical wall. Sturdy can come in handy against like the Electric Gym, for example. I usually take Caracosta as my fossil and use it against the Electric Gym with Sturdy to help me out. Just like get the Rock Tomb off and then Aqua Jet something, Revenge Kill. You know, I think it's a very useful defensive Pokemon while having that offensive presence with Shell Smash and just like good attacking stats too. And Solid Rock is a crazy good ability. Outside of Grass type, like outside of special Grass type attacks, you can live pretty much any super effective hit. You're gonna shrug off fighting and ground physical attacks because your HP is or your defense is massive. Physical electric type moves, same thing. Even special electric type moves, you'll be able to tank at least like a couple. So you're a pretty hard to break Pokemon. So I'm gonna put it in the A tier. I think it jumps above these guys in the B at least a little bit. Barraskewda, I'm putting them both in C. I am ranking them differently because one of them gets Rockhead and the other one gets Reckless. The time they join depends on the games. You know, really these things are not that big of a deal. Like whether I say the red or the blue is better. But I will say that like adaptability is the best ability for both of them. But the blue one is the one that has Rockhead. So if you wanted to use like Head Smash Rockhead, that's cool. Realistically, you use these things for adaptability, Aqua Jet, which is good, but there's also just better offensive Pokemon. And they have zero defensive use. I think they're just niche. So there's your tier. Seismitoad, coming to the A tier. Water Ground is amazing. I don't think it's the best Water Ground type, but it's the only one in Gen 5. So it's like, and also having Swift Swim is awesome. So I could maybe put it in S tier because of Swift Swim. If you're building a rain team, I could think about it. So that's like a border. If I had like an A+ tier, this would be the first Pokemon to go in that A+. But it's only if you're building a rain team, so I'll leave it here in A. Water Ground is just such good typing. Yeah, it's super solid. Seismitoad or Semi-Seer, Semi-Poor words. Semi-Poor is an early game water type. Just pick Samurott if you want an early game water type, because he's pretty good. I'll put him in the B tier, all things considered. Like for like Black and White, and Black and White 2, I think it's really good because of the lack of water types. But in a bigger pool of waters, it's not bad. It has enough defensive like stats. Like it's bulky enough to serve as a somewhat okay bulky water type. Not frail water type, I guess I'll say. And offensively, you know, Swords Dance Aqua Jet is great. It has a usable speed tier. It's just like, it's like good. It's like a good, not great in every spot. Lumineon. Yeah, I should get that out of the way. Plenty of fish in the sea. The Gastrodon forms. I think they are same thing with Seismitoad. It depends on if you have the choice between these two. Are you building a rain team? Use Seismitoad. Are you not building a rain team? Use Gastrodon. They have like Recover. They both have like the exact same offensive stats. Water Ground type. Storm Drain later is nice for the water immunity. It's not a water immunity in Gen 4. It's only in later generations. That is it's a water immunity, and getting this special attack actually increases your damage output, so you actually have higher damage output than these two, than Seismitoad. And like having Body Slam is cool. I'm rambling. I'm putting the green and blue one above the pink and brown one because this one looks better in my opinion, and there's no difference between them. I'm ranking all these other forms, like the Basculins and the Jellicents, just because. No one left behind, I guess. Float Soul is a Swift Swim Pokemon. That's really the only niche it has. That's the only reason you'd use this thing over other water types. It's because it has Swift Swim. If you want to build a rain team and you need a Swift Swimmer, that's not... Actually, a lot of the Pokemon on this list don't have Swift Swim yet. except for like Dracovish and Arctovish. B-Barrel. If you can get a simple B-Barrel, it is a B, if not A tier Pokemon, with Defense Curl in the beginning of the game, basically just being Iron Defense, and you have like rollouts, so you can Iron Defense and then boost your rollouts and go crazy. It gets Curse, which is just, simple Curse is ridiculous. Simple Sword Dance is ridiculous. Just don't have it fight and intimidate Pokemon, which is not the most common thing ever. And it's a really, it could just start boosting like crazy. Simple Sword Dance, simple Curse. It can kind of go crazy. Honestly, it could go A tier. Am I willing to put it A tier because of the potential it offers? Yes. Yes, I am. I am doing it. Bidoof the God. Empoleon's Water Steel typing is very unique. It's very good defensively, and Empoleon's still a fine offensive Pokemon. Surf, Ice Beam, Flash Cannon is great stab. This is great stab combo. Ice Beam's not stab, but you get the point. That's a great combo. You're gonna hit a lot. You're gonna hit everything except for electric. Don't fight electric as a water type. And there you go. Yeah, great defensive, really good defensive Pokemon, really good pivot Pokemon, and then still having that offensive presence as well. Luvdisc is the worst Pokemon I've ever seen in my life. F tier. Relicanth is a crazy physical wall. That's also a really good Swift Swim Pokemon with like Rock Head. So I think B tier is very fitting for it. It's, yeah, if you need a defensive rock type, defensive water type, like literally a physically defensive physical wall, but you also have the Swift Swim mode to go crazy. And B double speed, yeah. Fits very well in the rain teams. I think is very solid B tier. Rain teams are the easiest weather team to make, because you just teach them the rain dance, and you get so many waters that it's very easy to build a team around. Plus it helps like steel types, electric types with thunder, even flying types with like hurricane. It's super easy to build a rain team for your Nuzlocke, and so Swift Swim Pokemon are going to be valued pretty highly, which is why Relicanth is up here and B. Gorbis and Huntail are two other Swift Swim Pokemon. I don't think they're as good as like a Relicanth or something, but they're still usable, more than usable Swift Swim Pokemon. Gorbis is the special one. I think special waters are just usually better than physical waters, so it's a little bit higher than Huntail. But I think Clamperl, this is the only NFE Pokemon I'm going to rank here. Clamperl, I think, is better than both of them, because holding the Deep Sea Tooth or Deep Sea Scale, you can get the crazy special attack boost, or special defense boost, I think it is. I want to say it's special defense. So you can be a crazy wall, or you can be just a crazy strong special attacker. And even without, like, a lot of coverage, just running, like, Surf Ice Beam is all you really need. And I think it also gets Shell Smash, too, which is just hilarious. It can actually go, like, S tier, but no, I'll put it in A. It can be really funny. Try out Deep Sea Tooth or Scale. No. Is Tooth the special attack or is Scale the special attack? Let me look this up. I'm not gonna look it up. You can look it up. It's not a big deal. It can go crazy and it's fun. I'm putting Walrein up in A tier too, with really good bulk, the nice physical, or the nice physical attack, I guess. Physical attack with like Body Slam and stuff gives it some cool things to do other than just, you know, clicking Surf and Ice Beam, which every other water ice type is gonna do. Yeah, the bulk. You also get stuff like Super Fang. I think by level, it might be like a move tutor or something, but just I think Body Slam, the good bulk, the good attacking stats still gives it at least a little bit more to do. So I'm gonna put it in the A tier if you want a stab Ice Beam on your water type. You can also have Thick Fat. You can just get rid of your, like, one of the big downsides to having a water ice type is you have a water type that doesn't resist fire anymore. This thing gets Thick Fat, so you can keep that fire resistance and also just completely wall out ice type attacks, which is kind of fun. Cast Form is technically a water type, and if you have to consider using Cast Form as your water type, I don't know, something's going horribly wrong. Unless you're putting it on a rain team where it's a water type with thunder. Actually, it's going C tier for that reason alone. Milotic, S tier. Defensive water type queen. Basically, with Marvel Scale, you can have a crazy high defense stat. Just to go burn this thing. You don't even have to run Flame Orb or something. You can run leftovers. Just literally just go burn some. Just go get it burned. Just go fight Slugmas and get it burned or something. Or I'll have some Wormpole poison sting you. You know, it's very easy to get yourself statused. And you come with recover, so you're gonna keep the longevity. And offensively, you still do a lot. You even have like coil and stuff, right? But really, it's just like the Marvel Scale. You recover. Scald or Surf, Ice Beam, you can have like Toxic and be like a crazy wall. Yeah, this thing it's fantastic. Crawdon I'm going to put in the B tier. It can be a very scary offensive water type. It's just too slow for me to love it. And not really that bulky. So it can do a lot of damage, I just don't love the stat layout really. I think there's just better picks, so I think B is like good, but there's something better. That's where Crawdon lies. Wishcash I'm also going to put in here. It's the only water ground type I'm going to put here, just because its stats are very lackluster. It is just not doing as much damage as the rest of the water ground types. Like I could maybe put it A tier just because it still is a water ground, which is still useful, but I think I'm just going to leave it B. It's just not as good as the others, and I think they need to be separated at least a little bit. Wailord is a bulky water type that can get like rollout, which is fun, and it can get water spout late, but I'm not gonna put that A. I think I'm just gonna leave it B. It's a very serviceable bulky water that can also be offensive. Sharpedo I'm gonna put in A tier though. As a crazy sweeper, water dark typing offensively, as we talked about before with Greninja, and Samurai Hisui is really good. You know, even in Gen 3 where it's all special, it has a good special attack stat, so it can still be your special Ice Beaming water type if you wanted to. It's just a great sweeper with really cool typing that's gonna hit a lot for you, and be a really cool niche. It can be your team's dark type, it can be your team's water type, it can fill both. I think it's a very useful sweeper Pokemon. Ludicolo I'm going to put in the S tier, and it's an awkward one because Lombre is so bad, and it really depends on what game you're playing, how early you can get Ludicolo. For example, like an Emerald, you don't get Ludicolo until like the 8th gym. And some other games you might be able to get a Lombre earlier and get a Waterstone earlier, and there's also the potential of like having a Pokemon with pickup that can pick up a Waterstone. So think of Ludicolo as more of an endgame water-type Pokemon, but Water Grass is just so useful, and it is the staple Swift Swim Pokemon, I think. I think I can clearly say that. I can't think of another Swift Swim Pokemon that's more of a staple than Ludicolo, even like Kingdra. It is, yes. Give it, it just does rain by itself, too. Like, the perfect moveset for this thing, I just started so hard. The perfect moveset for this thing is something like Giga Drain or Energy Ball, Ice Beam, Water Stab, and like Hydro Pump or Surf, and then Rain Dance. You have the move slot. You've already the stab coverage of Water, Grass, and then Ice there as well. You had so many things. It's got enough bulk to take hits. It can dish out good damage. Yeah, it's such a crazy good niche Pokemon. It's going to the S tier. Pelipper is going to be an A tier because eventually it gets Drizzle, and that is amazing for building rain teams. And even outside of that, it's a great early game water type. It learns Protect by level up. You get Stockpile in later generations, so it can be a pretty good wall. And like Drizzle Hurricane is great offensively. It's a pretty bulky physical tank too. And it gets like Roost Recovery. Pelipper's it's always got something going for it. It's always got some kind of team support going. You can teach it Tailwind. Yeah, there's a lot going. There's a lot good going for it, and also Drizzle. Without Drizzle, I'd probably pull it down to the B tier, but because of Drizzle, it's gonna be at least A tier. Which I'm also just gonna pull up Politoed real quick. Because of Drizzle, it's gonna come in the A tier. It's a pretty defensive water type, but yeah, Drizzle. So therefore, it belongs at A because it has a very useful spot on your team if you're building a raid team, which you probably just should because they're strong. Swampert, easily going the S tier, the most broken starter of all time. Completely carries you through Hoenn. Water Ground is such good typing. Amazing bulk. Amazing offenses. We all know Swampert's broken. Right? We all know Swampert's broken. Kingdra is also coming up in the S tier. This is another late game Pokemon. This is another really strong Swift Swim Pokemon that you also might just throw Rain Dance on it because what else are you going to run? This thing, you pretty much just run Ice Beam, Dragon Stab, like Dragon Pulse or Draco Meteor if you can get it. And like Surf or Hydro Pump, Water Stab. So then your last move is something like Rain Dance. It's the water Dragon typing is so good. You're only weak to Dragon until Fairy comes along, and then it's just Dragon and Fairy. This thing is just it's so strong. It's very bulky, hits really hard. Amazing rain Pokemon, easily S tier to me. Mantine is a nice defensive Pokemon. I think I'm gonna leave it. I think I have it just in the B tier. Is that right? I'm double checking myself. Yeah. It's a great special tank. Water Absorb is nice too. I wish it had a little bit more offensive presence in some way. It could also have Swift Swim, so it can be like a decently offensive Swift Swim Pokemon. I wish it had better Flying Stab or something. I don't know. I think if it had a little bit more offensive presence, I'd be willing to put it A tier. But as a special wall, maybe if it had more HP or something too. If it was a little bit bulkier or had recovery, it needs something. It's missing something to be amazing, but it's good. It's a very good defensive water type, and water flying is amazing. Octillery is probably better than you think it is. It has a lot of really cool coverage. It gets like Fire Blast on a water type, which is hilarious. And offensively, it's good. It's lacking a little bit of bulk. It's lacking a little bit of speed. But still, if you need a water type to do damage, Octillery is great at that. And having just really cool coverage. It's like Klotzer, actually. Just having really cool random coverage. Corsola is... I don't know what you'd ever do with that thing. Sorry, Corsola fans. It's awful. Quillfish has the niche of being like a Swift Swim poison type. Water type. It's like, okay. It's going C. It's just a very lackluster Pokemon. If you're building a rain team, you have a Quillfish, sure, why not? Use it. Slowking, I'm putting in the A tier. Possibly S. Probably S. I'll put them both in S. Let's just get Slower out of the way too. These two are S tiers. They're amazing defensive Pokemon. They can set Trick Room for you. They can debuff. They still have good offensive presence too, and they also just have random coverage. They can randomly use Flamethrower. I don't know why. They can set up with Calm Mind and Sweep. They just have so much flexibility. If you get them on your team, they fill whatever niche you need filled. As a Psychic type, as a Water type, as both. Easily S tier to me. Quagsire, I think, is the best Water Ground type outside of Swampert, of course, because of Water Absorb, giving that immunity that also recovers HP. You're just very defensive. Your Earthquake's gonna hit hard enough with your stats, and you learn Earthquake early, just like Wish Cash does too. And then stuff like Scald, Ice Beam, it's not as crazy as Swampert, but Water Ground is just so good, and then the Water immunity is also super useful. And it gets cool support moves like Yawn to debuff things and put them to sleep. Very useful. Azumarill is... I'm going to put it in the B tier. Once it turns into a Water Fairy, it definitely gets stronger, but I have to think about the games before that where it's not a Fairy type, and I think it's not quite as good. So I'm going to leave it I'm going to leave it in the B tier. You're not really going to Belly Drum in your main game, so you're pretty much just using, huge power, unboosted, like Aqua Jet or Waterfall, or like Roll Out or something, which is still good. It's still a good bulky physical water type. And when it's Fairy, it goes into A. So Fairy type Azumarill, A. Non-Fairy type Azumarill, B. So I'm gonna balance it into B, and like floating around here. Lantern with Volt Absorb, Electric Immunity, and the Water Electric typing, and the high HP, good special defense, everything it brings to the table, with the immunity, with the typing, with the stats, and even like the move pool of like Thunder Wave, Confuse Ray, for really good support. Put it on a rain team. with Thunder or even just like Thunderbolt, it offers a lot for more to you. It's a very good defensive Pokemon. Really cool niche, and still can do enough damage with like, you know, stab, surf, stab, Thunderbolts, and then ice beam. It gets Bolt Beam and half its stab. That's awesome. A tier to me. For Alligator is kind of like Samurott. It's just gonna come into the B tier. It's like a physical water type. There's better. There's always Gyarados. Pretty much. Like there's always Gyarados. There's always better water types. It's kind of not the best pick for your starter. Not the best pick for. There's always something better, but they're usable. I think Kabutops is a really good Swift Swim Pokemon as a rock type. Like Swift Swim Rock Slide is really good because you have that high flinch chance too. And you can, like I said, with Swords Dance, you can use something like Aerial Ace. It doesn't have the highest move pool, but all you really need is like Rock Slide. That's really all you need. That's all you're clicking with this thing. You get it in the rain. You can even teach Rain Dance because of the limited move pool. It's okay for Swift Swim Pokemon to have a limited move pool because it just easily slots Rain Dance on their set, and you're good. So you have like Rain Dance, your stab combo, and then like fourth move. And that's Kabutops, and I think it does that job very well. I think Omnistar does it a little bit worse. This thing is just a special attacking water type in Swift Swim. It doesn't have like the niche of being a rock type, which Relicanth also gives. I guess I should put it down here with Relicanth. I'll put it in A. I'll leave it down here. Or maybe Relicanth comes up. Let's do that. Let's do that. Because Relicanth has like Head Smash. So yeah. The physical rock types in Swift Swim are a little bit more useful than the special rock types, just because special rock types isn't that good. You don't get Power Gem till later gens, and even then, like you're stuck with like Ancient Power, while Rock Slide is pretty accessible, and a flinch chance and all that stuff. Yeah, and even like Swords Dance, I think it's just better. But still, Omnistar is a good Swift Swim Pokemon. You know, you run something like if you can get Ancient Power or Power Gem, and then Surf, and then Ice Beam, and then Rain Dance. There you go. Very usable Swift Swim Pokemon. Vaporeon, I'm putting in the A tier. It's a fantastic defensive Pokemon. It just lacks a good move pool. But like you can get like Acid Armor and like learn Baton Pass from Eevee. So never mind. Never mind about that move pool comment. It lacks offensive move pool. You run Surf and Ice Beam. But then you have Acid Armor and even Iron and Baton Pass, which is super cool. So, amazing defensive water type that has good offensive presence too. A tier. Follow the theme. Lapras is coming S tier. The stats, the coverage, the randomest coverage. This thing just randomly gets Psychic in Thunderbolts for absolutely no reason. It even gets like Perish Song, which you can use, which is funny if you want to do that. Hits hard. It's very bulky. And it's also a Pokemon that doesn't evolve, so as soon as you get it, you have this 530 something base stat Pokemon. Like as soon as it shows up, you don't have to wait for anything. Which, the more I play, the more I value Pokemon that don't evolve. Especially if they have just really high stats, and even if it's just like the one stat that's really high. So Lapras is easily S tier. Really just random. Like why does this thing know? Why can this thing know Thunderbolt? Why can it learn Psychic? Why? That's so random. Gyarados is coming S tier. Gyarados is Gyarados. Intimidate, the typing. Gyarados is Gyarados. We all know. Okay? Math is math. Gyarados is Gyarados. Dragon Dance, yes. It's going up here. Let's just get that out of the way. Okay? Let's get that out of the way. It's one of the best water types. It's the best Nuzlocke Pokemon ever. There's a reason I abandoned all my runs. It's boring. Starmie is also coming in S tier. Psychic, Surf, Ice Beam also randomly learns Thunderbolt. Here's the theme. Can a water type learn Thunderbolt for some reason? It's probably good. Oh yeah, Pelipper also gets Shockwave. I forgot to mention that earlier, but these two just randomly get Thunderbolt for like no reason. So they also beat other waters. This thing also gets Recover. It is fast. It's bulky for the most part. It's not like a wall, but it's got some good bulk to it. Starmie just is just. I also learn random moves. I just have Thunderbolt for no reason. So Psychic, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt is very hard for anything to resist. You're gonna wall break everything. You are fast. You do damage. You have Recover. You don't even need to run Surf. Like you could just forgo your water typing. Sea King is... I've been talking about so many good water types when we go to Sea King, and I'm sorry, buddy, but you're just... As much as I love using Sea King, this is a sack Pokemon. You use this thing, you let it die for the betterment of your team. Seadra... I'm ranking Seadra because outside of Gen 2, in Gen 1, Seadra is the final evolution until King just shows up. And it's a Swift Swim Pokemon. A physically defensive Swift Swim Pokemon. So it's going in C tier. It has the Swift Swim niche. I actually think highly of Kingler. I'm not... I want to try to put it A tier because the 130 attack is awesome. And the high defense and the pretty usable speed. But I am going to leave it in the B tier. Because physical waters are just generally worse. Unless they have another typing. Or their Barraskewda that just has random coverage. Or their Gyarados. You know, they need something special. Kingler doesn't have something special to be quite A tier. But 130 attack is nothing to joke about. It's a good Pokemon. It also has Shell Armor, which is awesome. Just not having to worry about crits. I'm so close to putting it A tier, but I'm not going to. Cloyster is going into the A tier, if not the... I thought about the S tier, but I'm going to leave it A because the generations you don't have Skill Link, it's just a lot worse. But if you have Skill Link on this Pokemon, the 180 defense and usable attacking stats with Skill Link, Ice School Sphere, and like Rock Blast, Pin Missile is great. It's great. Great damage output, plus Shell Smash. And then even just outside of all of that, you're a really good physical wall. Which is always useful. Dugong is... I love this Pokemon so much. I'm going to put it in C tier because it has some really cool supportive moves like Encore. And it can even get like Signal Beam, which is just kind of random coverage for a water type to have. Maybe I could put it into the B tier. Encore might honestly put it up in the B tier. As a defensive, like water type, your water type can often be defensive because it's just such good defensive typing. And Encore is just such a good move. I'll put a B tier. I'll leave it in the B tier. I'm looking at like the others here. I'm looking at like Huntail and Gorbis, and I'm like, yeah, I see enough use for Dugong on my team as much as I see them. Tentacruel is also coming to the B tier. Great special wall. It just doesn't do enough damage for me to put it any higher. That's really it. It gets Giga Drain, which is really, really cool for a water type to have. So it's great at beating other water types. And Sludge Bomb, you know, is great against other water types too. And also, it's a water type that beats grass types. Realistically, you're gonna beat the grass types. If it had a little bit higher offensive stats, the speed is great. Don't get me wrong. Like this, it's a very useful Pokemon. I just can't quite put it A personally. Or maybe I can. I guess I will. I'll put it A. The water poison typing is super cool. It's super useful, and you get this thing pretty early in some games. Yeah, I will put it A. Politoed. Not Politoed. That's Politoed. Poliwrath. Poliwrath. Water fighting. It's a Belly Drum Pokemon, so it's going B. But it could use... It could just use more. Maybe like if it got close combat or something, because you're usually running Brick Break. And I mean, you're belly drumming, so I guess it doesn't necessarily matter what your stab is, because you're just going to kill things anyways. But without Belly Drum is kind of risky, and it's not the bulkiest Pokemon. It needs a little bit more, I guess. Something a little bit more, but it could definitely pop off. So B, maybe A, because of Belly Drum. I guess I'll give it A. For the same reason I put Simple Swords Dance or Simple Curse Weebarrel up in A, I'll put Poliwrath in A for Belly Drum stuff. Golduck is just a Swift Swim Pokemon. It's like an early water type you usually get, which is cool, but in reality, it's just a Swift Swim Pokemon if you need it. And Blastoise is a very useful defensive water type. It could use a little bit more coverage moves. It could use something more to stand out, but it's a good tank. It's gonna do the damage. It's gonna be reliable for you as a starter. And that is all the water types. Ooh, my throat hurts. This actually didn't even go as long as I thought it would. All right, so we clearly crowned Gyarados. Say that 5 times fast. as one of the best water types, if not the best water type in Nuzlocke history. It's the best Pokemon in Nuzlocke history. Okay? It is. It just is. Evolving at level 20, Intimidate the typing, Dragon Dance. I don't care if it doesn't have the best move pool. You have Dragon Dance. Teach it anything. Teach it your Earthquake TM. It's clearly the best. And I'm also throwing Swampert up here. I'm sure you guys are so shocked by Swampert being the best starter in Nuzlocke history ever. Hey, you guys want to beat a Nuzlocke? Play a Hoenn game, pick Swampert, and then get a Gyarados. Congratulations, you won. Alright, the final part of the video. Let's go ahead and talk about Pokemon Scarlet Violet water types and what I think of them so far. Quaquaval, I think, is cool. Water fighting typing is really cool. You get like close combat later by TM, so I'm not gonna discount the lack of amazing fighting stab. And Aqua Step is awesome. Great physical water stab that also boosts your speed in a game where there's a lot of very fast Pokemon. I like it a lot. I think it's like, as starter, I mean, I think Skeledirge is the best starter, but we're talking about water types. I think it's like an A or B tier. If I were doing I thought about doing like a fighting type Nuzlocke of Violet, and yeah, I think it's a pretty good Pokemon. Who's the next water type that shows up here? That is a new Pokemon. Mousehold. I love this Pokemon. I could never pass Mousehold and not just shout it out because it's so cute. It's just 4 little dudes, supportive parents. Next water type, where we go? Come on. Is, drumroll please, Skittledoodle, Skittledoodle, Skittledoodle. Oh my god, why is it taking me so long? Tauros. Water type Tauros. Intimidate's great. Raging Bull is good stab. You get like Aqua Jet too. I think it's about as good as Quaquaval. It depends on how you're gonna play a Nuzlocke. It's kind of hard to encounter, but I'm just gonna say you got it. Having Intimidate, well, best case scenario, you have Intimidate. If you have Anger Point, that's a little unfortunate, but you can still work with it. Good speed, good attack. You get like close combat by TM, so you'll have the fighting stab that you need for it. And then yeah, I think Raging Bull as water stab is a really good move that breaks screens in case it's ever put up. After that, water type wise, we've got, who is the next new water? I think they're all late. Wugtrio. I hate this name. Why is it called Wugtrio? Wiglet's fine. I can't believe they actually designed this Pokemon after all of the jokes that have been made about Diglett. And they're just like, let's go all in with it. Let's make Wiglet. Wugtrio is awful. I think this Pokemon's awful. It's so weak. It's so frail. It's fast, but like whatever. You have Aqua Jet too for like. It's awful. I think it's horrible. Palafin. 0 to hero. Just switch out. You can't. It's really unfortunate that you can't use Palafin against raids, but the dude just turns into a legendary after you switch out. So like that's clearly fantastic. Also, Jet Punch is super good priority. Dude, literally just like Shazam, you switch out and you're Superman as a Pokemon. It's hilarious. Next new water is, where are you? These trio. Veluza with not Tidy Up. It's what is it? Oh, what's the move? It's like Belly Drum, but it raises your speed. It's +2 to your speed, +2 to your special attack, and +2 to your attack, and then it cuts your HP in half. Run a Citrus Berry. Get that HP back. And then this thing just turns into a crazy sweeper with Mold Breaker, so you get through Sturdy too, which is cool. And then Water Psychic. You run in like Psycho Cut, you get like Crunch and Liquidation. If you get a hidden ability and you have Sharpness, this thing gets even crazier as a sweeper. So really cool, go all in sweeper potential. What is the move? I have to look this up. I cannot. Also, amazing shiny. I just saw that. Absolutely amazing shiny. I want to find it. Move is Fillet Away. That's what it is. Fillet Away. +2 special attack, +2 attack, +2 speed. That is crazy. That is crazy. I think I like that better than Belly Drum because of +speed. Like, I don't need to max my attack out if I can go first every time. Come back down here. The next one up was Don Dozo. In-game, you're not going to be able to do the Don Dozo and Tatsugiri combo of, like, getting the +2 Omni boost. There's, like, one double battle. And you probably shouldn't have a Don Dozo by that point in the game. But I guess you can. Yeah, there's, like, one or maybe two double battles, so it's super niche to happen. But Don Dozo is super bulky. This thing is super bulky. You have Water Veil not get burned, which is cool. Unaware, I like. I love Unaware as an ability. Water Veil's hidden ability. Oblivious, you can't get intimidated, you can't get taunted. That's cool, in case you want to like set up. I like Unaware, just in case an enemy boss, in case any enemy bosses are like setting up on you, you just don't care. And you're just a crazy bulky water type. I like this thing a lot. And you have like random dragon type move, Wave Crash. Is crazy stab, and this thing's bulky enough that it can take the recoil and not care. 150 and 115 is so good. And Tatsugiri it's a water dragon type. Those are always good, and it gets like nasty plot. So offensively, this thing just goes crazy. Come here, you. The 3 different forms, they don't have different stats. They just have different impacts on Don Dozo. So pick whatever color you like the most. And ability wise, you always have Commander, which you're never going to be able to use really. I would love if they had Storm Drain, not as a hidden ability. If you ever get Storm Drain, that's awesome. Just switch into a water type attack, get the special attack boost, and then wall out that special attacker. Use Nasty Plot and just go crazy. With like Muddy Water, and you have a taunt. In Dragon Pulse. Yeah, you just go crazy. You just go crazy sweeping. And I think the last new water type is then Iron Bundle, which you're not going to use in a Nuzlocke unless you're doing post-game stuff, and I haven't gotten there, so I'm not going to talk about it. But competitively, Iron Bundle is crazy. It's the fastest thing ever. I think it's the last water type to talk about. This thing you're not gonna use any of these paradox forms in a Nuzlocke unless it's the 2 Dawn Fam forms you can get early. Those are the only 2 you'd ever see. And that's it. So let me know what your guys' favorite water type is in the comments below. Mine are the Sea Lions. I love Primarina. I love Dugong. I love Sea Lions. It's my favorite animal. And next week is flying. Thank you guys for tuning in. Peace out.